Deconstructed Artichoke Press, aka Nikki Thompson, uses artist books and zines to explore such things as architecture, feminism, relationships, and politics through the mixed media of bookmaking, printmaking, poetry, and letterpress. The book structures she uses make you go, ooh, I never knew a book could be like that. So that's a big send up here to get us started. So with that kind of introduction, what is an example of a book that surprises people in terms of format?
So a couple of my books, I'll show right here. This book, Collapse, it's all about my ex-boyfriends, but and it starts out as a writing project. So you pull it out like this, and it's an accordion, you'll notice in the back. So then it has the books in here, and I did use a technique for printing this called GoCo printing, which unfortunately it's no longer around, but it's a printmaking technique. It is a combination of rubber stamps and silk screen, and I letterpress this. At the time, I was using type, so I set all the type for this, and then I used a technique called pressure printing, which you do on the letterpress. I'm not sure if you can see this. Okay, so that's
the impression.
Yeah, that's pressure printing, and so it goes like, this, and then you pull this back like this, and that is how it works.
So it's like a book filled with a lot of little books.
Yeah, exactly.
And is each book a boyfriend?
Pretty much, yeah. Yes.
I like it. We're off to a strong start here, Nikki. So actually, I mean, you're talking about the way that some of these books within books are being printed. And so I'm curious, bookmakers have such a variety of ways of working, and some are just 100% completists in terms of, they make the prints, they do the binding, they do the sewing, they do, So I'm getting the impression, based on what you've just shown, that that's kind of the approach that you're taking to this.
Yeah, I pretty much make everything except for the paper and the cloth in these books. I have been starting to get interested in paper making also, but I'm trying to say, no, you can't do it.
Yeah, that's a whole other layer.
Right.
And so where do you, I remember years ago, oh my God, now it's escaping me. Art Ellis used to have them. I mean, they're not there anymore, which is such a loss, but, they had the best bookmaking materials, end papers and, just all kinds of really dreamy things. So I'm curious where you source your materials now.
So I lived in the Bay Area for a long time before that. So I never got to experience Art Ellis. I'm very sad about that. So the book cloth came from Hiromi paper. I usually get my book cloth from Hiromi paper. It's down in LA. And I get a lot of my other papers at like Flax in the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah.
I also, a lot of times my friends have given me, like, Nicole Anderson had a bookbinding studio, and which she doesn't have anymore. I got a lot of her stuff, her book cloth. And like friends will give me paper. So I get a lot of it through friends also, because I have a lot of book artist friends.
Well, and what you're making is so personal that I think that really, it makes sense. And it's really interesting that you would be doing that, because then you have these things that are, it's like layers of within layers of content and meaning in the things that you're making, because, lots of different things are contributing to it.
Yes, yes. And my books have a lot of layers and a lot of meaning in them. Like for example, my book Dodger Blue, like right here, the poems are about my own experience playing softball. It's very feminist take, but you know, I wanted there to be 216 stitches in the binding, so because there's 216 stitches in a baseball.
Oh, wow, that's so
And
cool.
so it opens up, and this you might not be able to see that well. It opens up into 3 squares. So like the baseballs, you know, the bases in a baseball field. You know, so they all have, my books have lots of little details like that, that really do that. So, and I took the pictures with a pinhole camera. It's a baseball field near my parents' house that's really beautiful. And unfortunately, you can't really see that. Let's see. There's these photographs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I noticed, so in the, you know, you just mentioned feminism, and in the short bio that we read when this all started, politics were mentioned too. So have you been doing anything using this, you know, the bookmaking or the platforms that you use to make art to do anything political in nature over the last few months?
Yes, I have. You know, I have a child and she takes up a lot of time. So I've been making a lot of zines.
Oh, wow.
And what I do is, like this one, The Pill versus the Pocket Rocket, is it's using a structure that Haiti Kyle uses, and Haiti Kyle's a real famous book artist, and she's really known for her structures. And so I love this particular structure for 2s. You know, so it's the pill and and actually Viagra. The Pill versus the Pocket Rocket was a clever title.
And it's very effective.
And so it's made out of a single sheet of paper, which most of my zines are. So here's.
Oh, wow. And so it's just a matter of folding, ultimately, cutting and folding.
Exactly. So I've got that one. And then this one, like, again, it's 2. I was looking at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, and the Ghost Ship fire, and what, you know. So those are 2 of them, which follow the same structure. This is a simpler structure, but again, it's made out of 1 sheet of paper. And I'm also a special education teacher, and I've always hated the way the textbooks are written, both in terms of history and English. They're very whitewashed. So I did a quote from Howard Zinn, from his, and he wrote history, American history. I forget what the title is.
Oh,
but,
A People's History. Yeah.
Yeah, The People's History, exactly. So, and then I wrote this, but.
So when textbooks stop being whitewashed, as educators, we shouldn't have to turn to supplemental materials.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's timelines at the bottom of the race riots, and what I'm doing is I'm playing with that idea of the race riot and like changing it to words like protest, resistance, rebellion. So
yeah, and also probably, you know, looking at what the you know, the intention of those actions were, as opposed to, you know, what was happening in that moment, and trying to demonize or politicize the actions versus what they were fighting against.
Exactly. So I do that a lot. And I have a Patreon page under Deconstructed Artichoke Press, and for $3, you can get a zine a month. So I'm
And
really
all of that,
excited about
actually,
it.
we should just remind everybody, because I want to, yep, awesome. Macy just put it in the chat.
Awesome.
We're going to get pressed on time. It's funny because this is the first round of interviews I'm doing. And so, you know, I had these moments of like, oh, I hope we fill the 15 minutes. And I'm actually realizing, I feel like I'm running out of time each time. So this is good. So we have your website in the chat so people know how to get in touch with you. And I think you've taught some classes for Verge, right?
Yeah, I teach through Myrtle Press, actually. So I was excited to see that I was going to follow their interview. So yeah, I have, you know, because of virtual learning and being a teacher, I've been like really swamped,
totally.
and it's insane. But I do teach through Verge through Myrtle Press.
Yeah, it's one of the big losses right now is that some of the things that are a little bit more technical or, you know, require multiple materials and things have just been harder to transition, you know, because you have to put little kits together that people can pick up so they have what they need. And then it's just not the same with something like bookmaking. It's very difficult, I think, to not be with somebody to say, oh, this isn't working for this reason or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. The zines I've been working on, and those work well, I think, for an online venue, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but because there's just so much technique involved.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, the things you're doing, like the way that accordion book comes together and those different sorts of things, it's like some of the folding and the bindings and everything can get really complicated. And so I think, you know, there's a high bar for frustration for somebody who hasn't done it before.
Yes, I would agree.
But it's all such neat work. And I think also the content in the zines that you're producing is so important. You know, it's such an important conversation to be having right now.
Yeah.
And I think one last thing, you've been, before we have to wrap up, I know you've also been participating in the Zine Fest that we've held a couple of times, right? So, because I remember your booth there like a year ago. Yeah. So I thought it was really cool.
Was it my sign?
Yeah. I remember you. I was like, oh man. So a kindred spirit. I'm all here for it. So are you going to be going to, or actually no, it's the end of Sunday. So if you had gone live, you would have gone live already, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did. I was, I printed and bound some books. I actually showed another book that I'm working on. This is Working Class Women Getting Out the Vote. So yeah, who I printed, and I'm gonna bind this into a book. And actually through Myrtle Press, I'm going to use these cards, but I'm gonna use a paper making technique that I learned from my friend Steph Rue called Jumchi. So I'm excited to start doing that.
Yeah, this is all very, very cool, and it's been really fun to talk to you. I've heard your name a lot, and I'm familiar with Deconstructed Artichoke, so I just think I'm really excited that we got a chance to talk to each other today. So thank you so much, Nikki, and
thank you.
And we're gonna move on to Justin, but I'm glad you were on the tour this year.
Thank you. Thank you, Verge, too.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Okay.